Tell us a little about your new book.
So The Doll's House is the third book in the Helen Grace series, and this time there are two seemingly unrelated cases that she's investigating. One is of a girl who goes to bed as normal in her own house but wakes up somewhere completely different the following morning with no idea how she got there. Meanwhile, Helen is also investigating a body that's been found buried in the beach. But the weird thing is, this girl who was estranged from her family was never reported missing, and in fact has been sending texts and messages seemingly for the last 4 or 5 years, despite the fact she's been dead for all of that time. People don't think the cases are related, but Helen Grace realizes that they are related, and when she works out the connection, she realizes she's hunting a very devious serial killer.
Your lead person, she is a very particular one. Can you tell us a little about her, why you picked her?
Well, when I was creating my protagonist, I knew I wanted her to be female, but I wanted to avoid a lot of the sort of cliches of the genre, so drink problems, marital problems. So Helen is teetotal, she doesn't drink at all, and she's sort of allergic to relationships, so she's quite a sort of isolated, fractured figure. But she does need some way of dealing with those dark emotions. She has quite a troubled past, and so when they descend, she visits a dominator who she pays to sort of beat her, and pain is the way that she sort of modulates her emotions. And so I just thought it would be interesting to have a very sort of closed, vulnerable character whose closest relationship is with a man who she pays to beat her. I think I'd read a lot of Stieg Larsson at the time, and I think Elizabeth Salander was sort of lurking in the background as I was creating Helen.
Other inspirations?
Well, I'm a big fan of Thomas Harris. I love his books, but my favourite writer of all is Patricia Highsmith. I love the worlds that she creates. They're sort of very dark worlds where nobody's innocent. Everyone is guilty to some degree. And there's just a brilliant way that she makes you really like her serial killers. So you sort of like Ripley and these sort of strange characters. And I really always loved her books. I think she's a far better writer than me, and I don't write in her style at all. But for me, she remains at the top of the tree.
The next book in the series?
So after Doll's House comes Liar Liar, which is all about fire, and the opening chapter is a young man who he's at the top of his house, the rest of the house is on fire, he's about 100 feet up, and he's debating whether to jump or not, and so it's sort of very, it's everyone's sort of worst nightmare in a minute, and Helen realises that actually 3 fires have been set on the same night in different parts of Southampton, so it's as if someone is trying to burn Southampton to the ground, and she has to wrestle with this. And arson is a very sort of, it's an interesting crime because it's not face to face. People set the fires and then they go away and then they come back to watch all the mayhem they've created. But it's a sort of rather unpleasant crime because it is so sort of devious. So I was really fascinated by that and wanted to write a book about it.